Sal, you back with us?
Yes, I am.
All right, well, I figured I'd go that route with it. Got you back on the phone. Well, we have another surprise guest here to join us with our top 5 that I wasn't prepared with music, so I'm trying to find something to play here to bring her in. So,
mystery guest,
yeah, I was
sign in, please.
I wasn't prepared with music here. I really wasn't. I didn't know she was going to be on the thing.
And now here's our guest star. And guess who it is?
I almost wish I wasn't playing music over that. I really was.
Oh, my God.
I always wish I wasn't playing music over that.
It's not easy being green.
So, our special guest is my beautiful wife, Mandy.
Hi, Boo.
Hi, Boo. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. How did that interview go?
Talking to you.
Wait, what?
How'd the interview go, he said?
It went really, really well. I'm excited, so keep your fingers crossed.
So we can bring it up on the show. You brought it up at the end of last week. All right.
Yay.
Can you keep more than your fingers crossed, like your eyes and your toes and everything?
All right. Let's get into this. Let's get into this while we still have Sal on the line here. Let's start with number 5. Sal, why don't you start us off?
All right. Well, my number 5 pick for my top 5 favorite wrestlers, I'm sure he would be a lot higher on my list, but I was only introduced to him recently, and that actually would be CM Punk.
Oh.
I'm not really familiar with his ECW work. I'm not totally familiar with his Ring of Honor work. I was introduced to him when he came on board to WWE. He's phenomenal. I mean, he does everything. He's definitely a workhorse. He deserves a lot more credit than he's given personally, and I think just having them keep the belt on him for over 400 days, I think, is a testament to how good he actually is.
All right. Well, I actually have him as an honorable mention, mainly because he hasn't been with the company as long. I wasn't familiar with ROH work until recently. But still, he's one of the best, so can't argue with that at all. Dad, go right ahead. Number 5.
My number 5 for me would be, I have to say, Fit Finley.
Fit Finley.
Fit Finley.
That's a random one. Explain.
To me, he's the type of guy that didn't grow on me at first, and then he did, and it kind of faded out of the limelight and came back. But this is a guy that, to me, he's kind of like a weeble. You hit him and he wobbles, but he keeps getting back up. And now he's doing training for up-and-coming wrestlers. So I say, because of all his endurance and everything he's taken, I would have to say number 5.
All right. It's an odd one, I have to admit. Mandy, what would be your number 5?
My number 5 would have to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. He just represented the badassness of the 90s. Growing up, you were either Team Rock or Team Stone Cold, and we were definitely Team Stone Cold in the house. And, even Mom just loved him, and he was everything that you wanted to be towards your teacher or your boss and couldn't. So, Stone Cold.
Very, very true. For me, number 5, and you'll laugh at this one, is The Big Show.
It's you!
Yes, I've actually always loved The Big Show from when I first got into the business. Christian actually thinks I look like him, which is pretty funny when we're watching any kind of wrestling. But no, all seriousness, I do love the guy. I do dare anybody to look up because he can wrestle, and nobody realizes this anymore now because he does his power moves. Look up a Kane versus Big Show match right after they broke up on Raw. They actually chain wrestled for like 10 minutes. It's one of my favorite matches ever. So, because it's unexpectedly a lot more fun to watch. So,
yeah.
All right, Sal, what do you got at number 4?
My number 4 is Mandy's number 5, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh.
He's just he was the force behind the Attitude Era, in my opinion. He was the force of wrestling changing, from what it was in the 90s, and it's and just like Mandy said, he did and said all the things that all of us at one point wanted to say to another person, and He was just nonchalant about it. He didn't care, and his feuds with Vinnie Mac were, I think, probably one of the best feuds in WWE history, personally.
Very, very true. All right, Dad? I'm afraid, but go ahead, number 4.
My number 4?
Yes.
Kurt Hennig.
Okay, that one I understand.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
I've watched this kid since the old AWA days with him and Scott Hall tagging up and came through the ranks. Father Larry X Hennig, trained, coached this guy along with Vern Gagne, came up, superstar, made it into the big times, phenomenal, can do several things very well, great with mic skills, so I have to say that he's my number 4 all-time pick.
All right, makes sense to me. Mandy, go ahead.
My number 4 is actually Sting.
Oh, okay. Very nice pick.
I remember my dad taking me to the Mecca.
Wow.
Which I mean, that goes back in Milwaukee history.
I think you just made your dad feel old.
And I remember just waiting on pins and needles to see the Stinger in his neon makeup and his neon pants and do the Stinger splash, and it just...
Okay, Sal, you didn't see what just happened over here on the bed. Go ahead, sorry.
Just Sting embodies my childhood. Like, he was just the coolest thing I remember ever seeing. And that would be why he's number 4.
And if you want a reenactment of your childhood, watch TNA now. Number 4 for me is Chris Jericho. There's a man who not only is a great wrestler, I think has a great personality all the way around. I've actually been reading his books. His biographies are phenomenal. His history is great. I think he's probably one of the most charismatic guys on television pretty much of all time. When we say charismatic, we always say he is incomparable to Chris Jericho. And I think he's a little underutilized at times as a wrestler. I think he deserves to be in the main event. But again, he just earned his time off. So, he just have that schedule now where he can come and go as he pleases, and, well, nobody gets angry at him. And plus, now he's putting over Fandango, which I know Sal's loving. And there's your Fandango reference of the show.
Thank you.
Sal, what do you got for number 3?
My number 3 is the 90s Undertaker with Pallbearer and Stinger.
Wow.
I mean, I love all incarnations of the Undertaker. I even liked the American Badass version, which I wasn't really too crazy about. But if I had to pick a specific Undertaker, it would have to be 90s Undertaker, the pale face, the purple, the no talking, the pallbearer, the shooting fire out of his hands. It was just it was definitely something new and something you've never seen before in wrestling, and that's definitely he was definitely a person as a child that I really looked at, and I was mortified of him. I was afraid he was going to come to my house and steal me.
Me too.
Yeah, Mandy's yelling "me too" in the background. I don't know if you heard her or not.
Yes, it did.
That's really funny. All right, Undertaker has really...
In peace.
Yes.
He would do that and terrify the shit out of me when I was younger, by the way. And he would flip his eyes back like the Undertaker. I'm terrified.
So, yeah, that's that. All right, number 3. We got that. Go ahead.
Number 3. I got 2 in this category, but I'm going to go with one. I'm going to go with Eddie Guerrero.
Ooh, Eddie. Your theme music.
This is a guy from a wrestling family, a lot of pressure, came through, started out in the minors, worked his way up to big leagues, had issues, conquered his demons, came back from it, wasn't again a workhorse, and taken away too soon. And the man, phenomenal wrestler. I mean, super fast, super quick, several holds, and a good mentor coming up for the younger generation.
I can totally not argue with that at all. You know, Eddie was one of the best. Honey, go ahead. Number 3.
My number 3, it will probably shock my husband for sure.
Go for it.
The Miz.
Wow.
And I'm going with The Miz because I remember seeing him on The Real World as this punk-ass little kid who just kept calling himself The Miz, saying he was awesome, trying to beat up people. And when Blake told me that he was in Tough Enough, I laughed because I had no doubts that he was going to make it big. He just was always someone that you love to hate or you love to love. He always treaded the line between face and heel, and it's been really interesting to see him grow up. And I think for the first time in all of the years I've been watching him, I can actually say, like, I'm a fan of his. He reminds me a lot of Chris Jericho, and I think he could be this generation's Y2J.
Wow, that's high praise, as we discussed a minute ago with Jericho.
How is the Miz from Real World different from him being now?
He grew up.
He made some more money.
Okay, wait a minute.
Wow. And he had the WrestleMania.
Wait a minute.
He headlined WrestleMania.
Arrogant, brash, braggadocious. I'm awesome. That hasn't changed.
Here's the difference. The man headlined WrestleMania with John Cena.
And he's much more talented, and he's not as arrogant as he was.
He's actually a really good wrestler now.
Well, actually,
right, Sal?
Actually, he's been molded by
Yes, he is.
people have molded him. That's it.
Oh, he's turned into it. My number 3 has already been mentioned on this show, and it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I came in near the end of the Attitude Era, but even from then, I knew how awesome and great Stone Cold truly is. He is one of the best. I'm glad he's one of the only wrestlers I can say I go back and I'll watch matches that I didn't even grow up watching, just to see how much he's done and how much he meant to the business. And
Yeah.
yes. So, Sal, number 2.
My number 2, he's somebody that everyone knows. I can guarantee that 50 different countries around the world would know who he is, probably more. But the version that I picked was the most influential one, and that would be Hollywood Hogan.
Wow. We have a Hogan reference on the show.
He definitely epitomized the people aspect of what a wrestler should be. I definitely love my Hulk Hogan. I love my red and yellow, but it was a bold move to have the biggest baby face in the world ever to turn heel, and the way that he played it off truly was. I mean, and being a part of the biggest action, I believe, ever in the NWO, really just it really did wonders for his career.
So, Sal, I hate to say this, but over here, Mandy almost wanted to throw something at the screen when you said Hogan's name. She really did almost throw something at the screen.
And next week's show, you'll hear why.
Yes, so we'll move on.
Okay, brother.
To Dad at number 2. Dad, go. Number 2.
Number 2. I have to agree with Sal that my number 2 would be Stone Cold.
Oh,
for no, Stone Cold for the same reasons. I started watching Stone Cold back when he was in wrestling for Von Erickson down there in Texas, and he was coming up then, and he had potential, and people noticed it, and got his mic skills redefined, and got his other skills defined, and became very big in Texas, and jumped to other bigger things.
What was that? Sal, you're saying?
Yeah, I'm there. I didn't say anything.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so he jumped to bigger, better things, and made the industry, I think, what it was for the Man Attitude era. What can you say that down with, man? Right in the mouth. What the hell is that? Shh. Okay. Take 2. Era. So, and he's gone on to do other things outside of wrestling that has seemed to, make another niche for him as far as television and acting in movies. So
I actually listen to his podcast every week now. So, honey, number 2, go for it. I want to see if we agree on this one.